Hey everyone, it's Nate and Andrew here.
And by far the most common question we get is, which acoustic guitar should I buy?
And I mean everyday emails, YouTube comments, and forums. So we figured we'd shoot a video for you guys that bring up some things to think about when making an acoustic guitar purchase, some things to think about and consider so you can make a really wise decision.
That's right, and we're at Long McQuaid today, so we want to extend a special thank you to those guys for letting us come in after hours to shoot this video.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of people might not know this, but I worked at one of the biggest music retailers in the US by volume for almost 5 years. So I've seen a lot of people buy acoustic guitars and helped a lot of people out. And generally there are two main questions that I ask people to get started to find out what they should buy for an acoustic. And the first one is, how much money do you want to spend? And this is important to kind of nail down before you go into the store. Number one, so you don't get suckered into buying something that you don't want. And number two, so you don't blow your budget for the month or the whole year on a guitar that you really couldn't afford to begin with. And from my personal opinion, my personal perspective, I think it's good to spend as much money as you can on an acoustic guitar. The reason for that is a more expensive guitar is generally going to feel and sound nicer. And when you have that, and you're inspired to sit down and play the guitar, you're gonna spend more time with the guitar and you're gonna get better faster too. So we're gonna break this down into kind of 5 different price levels or brackets for you, just to give you an idea, because there's so many different choices out there. The first level is anything below $150, and these numbers are kind of rough. But if you spend less than $150 for a brand new guitar, you're kind of getting something that's really poor quality and kind of like a toy. The next tier is anywhere from $200 to $400. You get a little bit better quality, something that's a little more enjoyable to play, sounds better. And we'll kind of unpack these tiers as we go along and give you some more pointers here. The next level is anything from about $500 to $900. Then it goes up to about, I don't know, about $1,400. And anything above $2,000, you're getting something really good, like super high-end quality that really at that point, it just boils down to personal preference. It's something that's really professional level for you.
That's right. And the second qualifying question is, what style of music do you want to play, or what tone do you want to go for? Now, there's kind of 2 main divisions. There's lots of different body styles and sizes, but kind of the 2 that we're going to talk about are the jumbo dreadnought big body style, kind of like these ones we're holding here. And then we also have the concert or triple O kind of body style, which is like these guys right here. Now, the bigger guitars are going to sound bigger. They're going to be bassier and sound more full. That might be what you want to go for, but the smaller guitars are going to have a little bit more mid-range. They're going to be a little bit on the bright side, and that might be what you want to go for too. Really, it all comes down to what style of music you want to play and what kind of tone you want to go for, and that can kind of just be up to your preference more than anything.
And that's a good segue into the next point, which is, what is your stature? How big of a person are you? I'm 5'9", and this is something that's important to consider when you're playing a guitar. I find that people shorter than me or smaller than me generally prefer like a triple O body style or a concert style as opposed to like a dreadnought or a jumbo, just because look at my arm. It's kind of hard to get around a little bit for me, but I still like the sound of a dreadnought. But it's something you want to consider if you're shorter than 5'9", like 5'7" or below, maybe experiment with a triple O or concert body style that may be a little bit more comfortable for you, because you're going to be spending hours with this. But one way kind of around this is if you want to stand up with your guitar or use the classical method for holding it, it makes it a lot easier to get your arm around the guitar. So that opens up the doors for more different body styles and different guitars that you can choose from.
So Nate, acoustic or acoustic electric?
Yes, please.
A lot of people don't actually know this, but acoustic and acoustic electric are the same thing. There is no structural difference between them at all. Acoustically, they sound identical. The only difference is in the electronic system that you'll find in an acoustic electric. So what that means is that if you have an acoustic guitar amp, or you want to plug into a PA, maybe play some gigs, things like that, that electric system allows you to obviously project yourself through the amp or through the PA system, where a regular acoustic guitar is not going to have that. Now these here, they have no electronic system in them. These ones, they have electronic systems. It's not always going to relate directly to price point. You can kind of find different guitars and different price points that have it or don't have it. So it really comes down to, what is your goal? Do you want to play at church? Do you want to play in a band? If you do, great. If you don't, if you just want to play at home and do your thing, then maybe you just can go for a regular acoustic guitar and be fine.
The next thing that you want to consider is if you're going to get a solid wood top or not. And this is the factor that kind of kicks you up into the next bracket, that $200 to $400 range. And a lot of people don't realize it, but the tops or the wood of guitar is just like furniture. You can have laminate or particle board, plywood furniture. You can have the same thing with guitars. You can have a laminate top. And that brings the cost down, but the tone and the volume suffers a little bit because the top of a guitar is where you get a lot of your tone and volume. It vibrates, right? Because the strings are attached to it. So one way to check and see if you have a solid wood top or not on the guitar is to just look at the top where the wood grain goes into the sound hole. Follow it down the little line, and if it cuts through all the way to the underside, then you have a solid top guitar. If it stops right there, then you have some filler, and then maybe another piece of laminate on the other side, then you have a plywood top guitar. So that's something to consider, and this is probably my number one recommendation for buying a guitar. Spend the extra $50 or $100. This is only a $269 guitar. Sounds fantastic. It's nice and loud, lots of low end, and a solid top is the one thing that I think is worth spending the extra money on for sure. Wait a second, you need a different guitar for this tip.
Now, the back and sides of a guitar can be plywood or laminate or solid as well. And that's kind of gonna bump you into that next tier, right? That third, fourth tier kind of thing. Now this guitar, it's about $1,300 or something like that. And it does not have a solid wood back and sides. And one kind of cool trick that you can do to tell if it's a solid back and sides is you look inside and you actually look to see if the grain pattern on the inside of the back and on the outside matches up. And if it does, then it's likely you have a solid back.
It's not always the case, but that's
not
a good
always the
clue.
case, but it's likely, it's a clue, right? And if it doesn't match up, then it's probably gonna be laminate or plywood.
Which isn't bad. I mean, structurally it's probably more sound, like it's tougher.
Absolutely, it's probably gonna be a little bit stronger, but a lot of people kind of also might say that it sacrifices a little bit of tone. The jury's out, I don't know.
What do you think about that? I don't know, leave in the comments. Yeah. The next little tip I have for you is don't forget about the accessories. When you buy a new acoustic guitar, especially if it's your first one, you're gonna need things like extra strings, a tuner, picks, a strap, maybe a footstool, a stand for your guitar, and all of those things can add up, so don't forget to budget for those. When you go buy a guitar, you may be taken by surprise. So if you're budgeting, you could say, you know, if I want to spend $400 on a guitar, tag an extra $100 on there for the accessories.
So Nate, all guitars are cool, right?
Yeah.
That's what we say, all guitars are cool. But here's the thing, not everybody is gonna find the exact same thing cool. So what you need to do is when you're looking for an acoustic guitar, you need to find what speaks to you. And that's what we call the second kind of cool, right? So don't worry about what your friend thinks is cool or anything like that. You are buying an instrument for yourself. Find something that really speaks and resonates with you, something that you really like the look of and that you appreciate, because you're the one spending the money, you're the one who's gonna spend all this time with the instrument. And one thing that's important is if you like the guitar, you're way more likely to play it, right?
All right, the last little area to consider, at least for me when you're buying an acoustic guitar, is the feel. And unfortunately, there's no way to get around this. You have to go out and actually try the guitars out. And it may seem like, well, I don't know, there's so many guitars in here, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know how the feel is different from one to the other. You're gonna have to spend some time with it, so maybe take multiple trips to the music store, pick them up, see what feels good to you. What feels good to me is not gonna feel good to Andrew, or not gonna be, you know, the most ideal for Andrew. So the only way to do this is get your hands on some guitars and try them out. So we know that there are a lot of factors and a lot of thought that goes into buying your first acoustic guitar or your next acoustic guitar, and hopefully some of the tips and things we've talked about here today will help you make that decision a little bit easier.
So we want to know, what was your very first acoustic guitar you ever bought? And if you haven't bought one yet, which acoustic guitar are you thinking of buying? Let us know in the comments below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with someone you know is thinking about buying their first guitar.
And if you need help getting started on the guitar, make sure you click on the link in the description and get the free beginner guitar starter kit. We'll see you later.